Welcome though.
Thank you.
Thanks
thank
for being
you. Thank
here.
you. Glad to be here.
Thanks for being here. We freaking love you so much. I hope you know that. You've really
Appreciate
inspired us a lot and inspired a lot of people. So
Appreciate that.
we're
Yeah,
excited for you to do
everyone-
that
Means
here.
a lot. Yeah.
Everyone can say that about you. Just the other day, we were talking about you, and everyone was like, "He's my best friend. He's my best friend." I'm like,
No.
"He's just everyone's best friend."
Well, no, the story. You want to hear the cool story about
Let's
you?
hear it.
This was literally like 3 days ago. So my brother Nathan teaches seminary at Olympus,
Uh-huh.
and he had a kid. I'll tell you after. I don't know if he wants his name to be on here, but the kid.
Wait, I don't get to know who it is. Come on.
We'll tell you later.
I mean, he's probably fine with it, but anyways, Nathan was telling us that they were doing some sort of question game thing where they were like, if you just broke up with a girl, you're super sad, da 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 da. Who are you gonna call? Who are you gonna text? And then it was like, if you just like ran a marathon, I don't know if it was exactly this, but like made some big achievement that you worked hard for, and you're amped up about it. Who are you gonna call? You know, kind of just like, who are you gonna call your most excited moments, your sad moments when you just want to talk to somebody? And for every single question, this kid was like, my boy Talon Savage.
Oh,
bro.
that's so cute.
My boy
Isn't that
Talon
adorable?
Savage. And Nathan
So
was like, and I
cute.
expected one of them to be like his like mom or like his dad. He's like, and literally every single
That's so
question,
cute.
he said you.
Actually,
So-
I think I know who it is now.
Do
You
you?
don't even need to tell me. I think I know who it is now. And I love that kid. One of my favorite kids in the world. So
Yeah, great kid.
That's awesome.
But I think that, honestly, that story, it's a perfect little story just to show who you are to everybody listening. Like, you're somebody that I'm sure you value that kid and you think the world of him, but you probably have a list longer than anybody I know of kids that would say that about you. Kids that are like, Tal is my best friend, my mentor, my example over anybody. So,
That's nice. I will say I have a lot of adopted little siblings. I
You've
brought
got
in
a
a
lot.
lot of little siblings, and
You've
I love
got a
that.
Okay, what's the count at now?
Yeah, I don't
Lot.
know.
Your family.
because you've been what? You've been a seminary teacher, you've been an MTC teacher.
MTC, yeah, that's where I started. Then seminary, HXP, did HXP since 2017. Did a year of
Yeah.
FSY in that.
FSY, dang.
Trained teenagers at a gym for a while. Coach football, which those football kids are. It was 8th graders, 7th and 8th. Well,
Yeah.
7th graders, then 8th graders.
Yeah.
Those are little brothers for sure. So a lot. There's a lot of little siblings
There's
out there.
a lot of them.
Kids that I just love and have been amazed by and, yeah, inspired by in so many ways.
Cool. That's so amazing.
So, who is your favorite age group to hang out with?
Oh, that's a hard. Well, I would have said 16 to 18 because that's what I've done. But then I did a trip. I went to Texas with with 14 and 15-year-olds, and it was the funnest thing ever. So I can't
Yeah.
pick. Like I loved it. We had so much fun. I'm like, I just love them all.
Just all the teenagers.
I love them all.
That's amazing.
I thought I would have said that, but they changed my mind. They won me.
Yeah,
They
true.
won you over. But basically, all of that has been since your mission, right? All
Yeah.
those different jobs and everything.
Yeah.
So what got you to a place where you were that inspired, that strong in the gospel that you wanted to dedicate your entire life to helping others, to helping youth, and inspiring other people in the gospel? Like, that's all you've done, basically.
Yeah. And it really has been since my mission that's been my whole focus. It's been my whole goal. I came home from my mission. I read this line one time on my mission that said, a leader's job is to inspire, bless, and encourage. And I'm like, that's all I'm worried about now. That's all I want to do, and I want to figure out how to do that in as many ways as possible. And it was funny when I came home from my mission because all my friends were kind of shook. They were like, who are you? Because
Really? You weren't like that before?
No, before the mission, and I don't think I was a terrible kid, but I was very self-centered. I loved football. That's all I cared about. I'd play football. I'd watch football. That's like all I did. It was my passion. It was my love. It was my everything. And I love the Eagles. That's it's literally all I thought about was how do I get better at football and how can I watch more football? That's all I wanted to do. I'd race home from church. I'd race my brother to see who could get on the couch first to watch the most football. And I would always win because I knew a shortcut where I'd jump a fence. Anyways. Actually, the way I even ended up on a mission is college football was always my goal. And I probably wasn't good enough for D1, but I could have hit Snow, y'all. Snow was my place. It was coming. I would have been a great D2 player.
Yeah.
But my senior year, I actually, in May, so it was before the season, I wrecked my left shoulder. But that happens a lot. You know what I mean? It gets hit weird. You're like, oh, it's a stinger. It's fine. But then after that, it kept sliding around its socket. I'm like, what's going on? I talked to a trainer. They're like, you need to sit out for 6 weeks, I think it was, and then you'll be fine. And I sat out 6 weeks, and it worked out perfect that I could come back for the first game. And so I played the first game, had my left shoulder all taped up, and then I still remember I hit this kid. It was actually my best friend from 5th grade that I was playing against. Kind of an irrelevant detail, but it was fun. His name was Morgan. We love him. Anyways, I hit him, and then my right shoulder separated.
Oh.
And after that, every practice, every game, my left shoulder would separate. I'd run out to my trainer. Her name was Janice. We love her. She'd pop it back in. And then I'd go into the game, and then my right shoulder would pop out, and then I'd go to Janice. She'd put it back in. And that's like how the rest of my season was. And I remember I saw a therapist in the middle of it. He's like, you got to stop playing. You're wrecking your shoulders. And I was like, dude, this is all I know. Like, this is all I've worked for years and years and years. Like, this is me. This is who I am.
Yeah.
And season ended. We were terrible. We won 2 games. It was awful. Played at Lehigh. Lehigh's legit now. So when I tell people I played at Lehigh, they're like, oh, you're so good. I'm like, yeah, we weren't.
Yeah.
But I'll take it. But I went in to get surgery right after, and I did it on my right shoulder first. And I remember the surgeon was like, that's the most messed up shoulder I've ever seen. And I was like, nice. Like, number one, I was hyped about that. But I remember after that, he's like, you're never going to be able to play football again. Yeah. And I went and tried later. It didn't work. I had to get another surgery anyways. But I did the right shoulder, did the left shoulder a month later. And he's like, that was worse than your right one. So both my shoulders were just completely jacked. They are still just completely messed up. But I got super depresso in that time. Like, I was just, one, it sucked physically because I was in a sling for a month and then could barely move it. And then I was in the other sling for a month. And so that part was rough. And my friends were doing all these fun things and having a good time.
And this is senior year, right?
This is senior year. Yeah, it's senior year. And so I'm supposed to be doing all the fun things, you know?
Ugh.
It was hard because of that. But I think it was harder because I really felt like I lost my identity and my purpose. You know, I was like, my whole goal is play college ball. And now I can't do that. And I remember that winter, I just was down bad. Like, it was a bad winter. And I had this time that I was in my basement and I was just having a little pity party. You know, you ever do those? Just walking around my basement. My friends were out doing something fun that I couldn't do because I was still in my sling.
Yeah.
And I had the thought, you need to read the Book of Mormon. And I hadn't done it in a while. I was pretty good at reading, but not during football season. I didn't read during football season. I didn't pick up after because I was a little salty at God, you know, because of all of it.
Yeah.
But I opened up my scriptures and I read this verse in 2 Nephi 9. And it talks about how Christ knows the pains of all men. And up until that point, I don't feel like I'd ever had a spiritual experience. I was actually kind of frustrated with spiritual experiences because everyone else would share them and I never had them. But for some reason, in that moment, I felt for myself that the first time that Christ was real. And I felt for the first time that he understood me. Because that was my big thing. I'm like, no one understands how frustrated I am. No one understands how hard I worked for this. But in that moment, I knew that he did. And that was the moment that I was like, all right, I got to change the way that I treat people. Like, I got to start treating people better and I got to clean up some things in my life. And that was the moment that was like, I'm for sure going on a mission. And 6 months after that, I was out on my mission.
Wow.
But that's it. That got me there. And I'm so grateful that it got me there. But it was the mission that just completely changed everything about me. I feel like the mission, it taught me how good God is and how much I want a relationship with him. And it taught me how much I love people and how much I want to live for people. So it's kind of a long answer to your question, but that's what ended up really making me just want to give myself to people.
Yeah. Do you have any specific moments on your mission that were like life-changing?
I mean, I could start from the MTC. Like the MTC for me was so life-changing. I had this teacher that I know God just placed this teacher in my life. He was just this big, buff dude, but he was a disciple. That dude was so powerful. I still remember certain experiences where he would do the most inspired things. Like, he'd say something to someone, he said, I don't know why I'm saying this to you. And then they just start bawling. And I'm like, what's going on right now? And they're like, that was the answer to my prayers. I'm like, you can do that? It was crazy. And when he spoke, it just lit people on fire. Yeah. And all of a sudden, my definition of a disciple changed. Because pre-mission, when I thought of a disciple or a good member of the church, I honestly thought of, I don't mean this in a mean way, but I thought of a lot of people that I didn't want to be like. I thought of a lot of people that I thought were a little weird or just not who I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. But I met this guy and I was like, wait, this guy's a dog and he's a disciple and he's powerful and he blesses lives and he changes people. And then I started reading in the scriptures about all kinds of people, about Ammon, about Captain Moroni, just about guys that I'm like, wait, they were they were leaders. They made a difference. They inspired. And my whole definition of what a disciple is changed. It went from something that was kind of weird and odd and not what I wanted to the most beautiful and powerful thing that you could be. So that's the first experience that I think of. But then, man, we could walk through the whole thing.
There's a lot.
I won't do that, but the one that I think of is, I remember I was in this area that was just freezing cold, and so it's really hard to find anyone to help. So we ended up just buying an axe, and we just go around in the mornings and chop wood, because that was the only thing people would like. They didn't want to let us teach them, so we just chopped wood, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I remember there's this day, and it was really sad. A family's house actually burned down, like, to the ground. Everything was stubble. It was terrible. Yeah. And so we're like, hey, can we come help? And we spent the whole day just helping them all day long, just moving all the rubble, like cleaning up, trying to like find any stuff that they could still keep. And it was exhausting. It was a full day of just physical labor. And I remember I went home and I was like, I don't think I've ever been happier. I don't think I've ever felt better than I have right now, dedicating my whole day to just helping someone. Mm-hmm. And so I just think of little experiences like that where I felt something different. You know what I mean? And I experienced something that I'm like, this is better than the kind of life that I had before. This is the kind of life that I want to keep having.
Mm-hmm. Love that. So your kind of conversion on this road to be a disciple started with your mission, you would say?
I would for sure say it started there.
Okay. So what about the people that maybe are feeling hesitant about going on a mission, or they're not sure? They have like a sports goal that they're like, yeah, I'd rather do this than go serve the Lord.
You starting with a mission, you say.
Let's get serious opinion on
that. Like, what would you say to them as far as where they're at on their journey and you having this experience, like, to help them?
Well, I had it easy because some kids actually have the chance to go play college sports or do whatever, actually have better opportunities. Mine was kind of ripped away from me and I didn't have it. You know what I mean? So the people that have the better option and still go, I have so much respect for.
Oh yeah.
I have so much admiration for them, because I don't know. I look back a lot on my shoulders. I'm like, would I have gone if that didn't happen? I don't know. Maybe God would have found a way to get me there. He probably would have, because he's good at what he does, you know? Yeah. But if I were to talk to them, there's 82 things I'd want to say. But the biggest thing that I want to say is that what God has is just so much better. What the life that he has for you, the ideas that he has for you, the plans, the ideas, the goals that he has for you, the version of yourself that he sees is so much better than the one you see. And I don't know how to get that through someone's head, but I look at how my life is now, and I look at the life that I wanted to have, and I'm like, oh, the life I wanted to have was cute, but the one that God gave me is so much better than what I would have guessed. So that's the first thing I would say, there's people that need you. So, like, sometimes it's not even about you. Sometimes people are like, why should I go on a mission? Like, what's in it for me? I'm like, well, it's not even about you in the first place. Like, it's about all the people that need help. There are people that are hurting. There are people that are struggling. Like, there's people that actually need someone, and God wants you to be that person, and they need someone to be that person. So yes, it'll do everything for you, but it's not about you, you know?
Yeah.
And what would you say to the kid? Because, I mean, you've talked to thousands of kids, youth at this point. What do you say to the kids that are like, I just don't know where to start, or like, I can't feel the Spirit, I don't know if God loves me, I don't know any of this, like, and I just don't even know where to start, where to begin with that relationship with God? Because you're somebody who has really good spiritual habits, you have a great relationship with God, and I'm sure you've given advice to kids like that.
Yeah, no, and I feel those kids so much, because it really wasn't until that end of my senior year, I never felt like I had spiritual experiences before. And it was so frustrating to me, because I'd always hear people share.
It's hard.
And I'm like, dude, how do I get those? And I remember people would challenge me. They're like, you just need to get on your knees and you need to pray and you need to ask God if he loves you. And I would do that a lot. I'd get on my knees and I would sit there. I'd say, God, do you love me? And I'd sit and wait and wait and wait. And I just remember nothing would happen. And I'm like, I can't even be on my knees anymore. They hurt too bad now. So I'm like, what am I doing wrong? But if I could go back and talk to myself, I think I'd say two things. One, and they go together. They build off each other. One is you've got to put yourself in positions to be able to hear God. And what I mean with that is I remember that time. I actually remember one of the times I prayed to feel God's love more. Nothing happened. But then I remember I went to a devotional like a week or two later. And I remember in that devotional, I felt so strongly, you need to change the music you listen to, and you need to change the things you talk about with your friends. And I walked away thinking, yeah, that'd be cool. And then I changed nothing. And then nothing changed in my life. Like nothing happened. And now I look back and I'm like, oh, God was talking to me. He was trying to help me. I just wasn't recognizing. And so get in a spot where you can hear him. Get rid of unclean things. Get rid of the crap that you know God wouldn't like, you know? And I feel like if you think about it, any kid knows those things. Any person knows those 100%. Things in their life that are keeping God from being in their life more. And you've got to do the things that invite him in, right? Of doing the little habits, doing the little things. So first, put yourself in that spot. Second, this is what I really wish I could tell myself when I was younger. And what I tell so many kids is God talking to us is way more simple than we think. The scriptures talk about how God invites a lot in the scriptures. You'll see it. He invites, he entices over and over again. It talks about how he invites. And I think that's one of the biggest ways that he talks to us is just with little invitations. Invitations to go talk to someone, invitations to make a change, invitations to start doing something or stop doing something. And it's those little invitations that are going to lead you to really cool God experiences. And it's those little invitations that are going to lead you to a meaningful relationship. You guys know what I mean when I say those little invitations?
For sure.
And I think they're always, somebody taught it to me of there's first thoughts, second thoughts, right? You get the first thought of, I should talk to this person. Mm-hmm. And then they're always followed up with second thoughts of, no, you shouldn't because it's kind of awkward. No, that's going to be weird. No, what are you even going to say? And so many times we talk ourselves out of these things. And so you don't get to see God do what he was hoping to do through you. Mm-hmm. And then you don't build your relationship with him in the way you were hoping to. And that's why I'm like, man, if I could go back, I'd say get yourself at a spot you can hear him better and then follow every good thought. Follow the invitations. Those are from God. The closer you get to God, the more those invitations will come and the more you're going to have relationship building experiences with him.
And I also think along with that, the most testimony building experiences and moments that I've had in my life are when I felt what it feels like to be in a tool in God's hand. To be a tool in God's hand. Like he tells you to do something, that first thought, and you actually decide to act on it. And you go talk to that kid or you help the grandma carry her groceries or whatever it may be. And then you feel so good because you were just used for a greater purpose. You were just used to do something that who knows how much that's going to help that kid. Who knows how much that's going to help that grandma. And I think God really helps you feel and experience your testimony in such a profound way when you assist him in his work. So anyways, I love that.
I actually think they're the times that I most feel close to God.
Yeah.
Is experiences like that.
Yeah, and it's such a relationship building thing. I mean, if you even think of a regular relationship with anybody and they have enough confidence and faith in you and belief in you to ask for your help, and then you help them with the thing, like you get so much closer with that person. And it's the same thing with God.
Yeah.
Like if him alone asking you to help should feel amazing because you have this God, this all-powerful being that has enough belief in you and faith in you to help him with this massive divine project that he's working on. Like he believes in you that much. And like, so even just getting those promptings in itself is really comforting to know that that's the God that you believe in and that's the God that believes in you.
It's actually really cool to think about it, connecting it to other people. Because if you think about how you build relationships with people, they make you an invitation. They say, hey, do you want to go get lunch? Hey, you want to go on a walk? Hey, you want to hang out? And it's only if you accept that invitation that your relationship actually gets stronger. And so many times we're like, I'm a little scared. Like, what would we even talk about? Or, we have all these reasons, or I'm too busy. We have all these reasons we don't accept people's invitation. That's fine, but your relationship with that person will never grow. Yeah. And I think it's the exact same thing with God. And if you start paying attention when you read the scriptures and you just say, God, I'm ready for your invitations, you're going to have those little thoughts of things you should change or do differently or someone you should reach out to. When you're praying, when you're in church, if you're paying attention to those, you're going to recognize little invitations, and every single one is an opportunity to strengthen a relationship with him.
I love that. That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about that book right there.
Oh,
You got, obviously it's the Book of Mormon. Tell
It
us
is
a little
the
bit
Book of
about what's
Mormon.
on it, why that story means a lot.
this is my baby right here. Look at this bad boy. Come on. From Lion King, because Lion King is one of my two favorite movies. Lion King and Hercules. If you didn't know.
Don was going to name his
also-
kid Hercules.
You almost
My
did.
wife wouldn't let me. It's terrible. But we got Rocky, and I was actually so happy with that. So it worked
Rocky's
out.
a good name.
Oh, no. My brother always says, he's like, yeah, Talon knew he would never get Hercules, so he was just putting that out there, this crazy outlandish name.
So I could come back just a little
Just
bit.
come back a
and
little
still
bit
get
and land
something to
anything
say.
you want.
I wasn't that smart. I genuinely wanted Hercules, but we'll go with that. I will say that I was thinking that
I'm
far
like, that'd
ahead.
be a good scheme.
It would have been. It would have been. But yeah, no, I'm obsessed with Lion King. It's a message that I think of so often because Simba grows up singing that just can't wait to be king. Grows up like most of us with high hopes, high dreams. Knows that he's got something in him. He's excited about life, and then like all of us, he makes a mistake. And I just think the way you respond to mistakes is everything in your life. And Scar comes and tells him exactly what Satan's going to tell us to do every time. He tells him to run. And he runs. He runs from who he was born to be. He runs from his purpose. And it's so funny because he finds Timon and Pumbaa. We always think of them as just these fun, happy guys. And they are happy guys. You know what I mean? But they teach him the worst philosophy that I think anyone can believe. They teach him Hakuna Matata. It means no worries, right? No consequences, no responsibility, no rules. You don't have anything to live for. It's nothing matters, right? Which up front sounds fun, but it's actually the most depressing thing that someone could believe, that what they do doesn't matter. How are you going to have any motivation to do anything if you believe what you do doesn't matter? And that's kind of what he'd come to believe. But obviously, the story. This part I love is when Rafiki leads him to his dad, and his dad's like, "Bro, you forgot who you were. You were made for so much more than you were made to do something special. You were made to lead. You were made to make a difference. You were born to make a difference." And obviously Simba goes back, turns around, becomes the king he was supposed to be, climbs Pride Rock. It's beautiful. But so many times in my life I'm eating bugs. That's why I love this story. And it's not, the bugs weren't evil. You know what I mean? The bugs weren't bad, but they were a distraction from the divine purpose that he was born with. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of my most fundamental beliefs that we each have a divine purpose we're born with. And I think Satan nowadays, yes, he uses temptation a lot for sure, but I think he uses distraction so much more because it's so much easier and it doesn't look bad up front. It's like, well, this thing isn't evil, and most distractions aren't evil, but they're effective, and that's the problem. Because I don't think what Satan's worried about is if we're caught up in evil things. I think he's worried about distracting us from our purpose. So that's why I got my beautiful Lion King Book of Mormon.
I love that.
I like the point of you bringing up like how Satan has become really good at distracting us, because that's such an interesting concept. And I'm not sure, have you seen the TikTok that went viral on the girl that died for 12 minutes?
Oh, no.
You haven't heard anything about it?
I'm not on TikTok, but my wife is. She's supposed to
I
fill
think
me
it's on
in.
Instagram or
She's supposed to
something,
fill
too.
me in on these things, so it's her fault.
Same. That's right.
Yeah.
Anyways, I saw this video and it actually was so profound what she said. She was like, yeah, I actually died for 12 minutes. And during that 12 minutes, I had an encounter with Jesus. And she goes into like this description of what those 12 minutes were about. And basically the scene that she depicted for us to imagine was she like saw Jesus and Jesus was like, hey, like follow me. Like I have something to show you. And basically it was just a massive room that looked like it had no end. And there were just people. And in front of every single person was a screen. And then the people were sitting and there were two dark figures on the sides of them. And he was like, do you see this right here? Like, I can't get through to anyone, like any of them. And it was like, it struck me so hard because I just thought of our world and I was like, that is exactly what it is right now. Like this thing is distracting us from so many responsibilities and divine purposes like we were talking about. And then not only that, but we have Satan and his followers whispering things into our ears or providing us with fake news or whatever it is that we just like are so distracted with those things that we can't even hear God or Jesus say anything. Like, I bet if he went up to one of them and tried to tap on their shoulder, like, he still wouldn't be able to get into them. And so it's just such an interesting concept to realize and to know that Satan is getting really, really good at distracting us. And he's had, like, centuries of practice. And so now he's gotten to the point where he's really good at it. And his followers are really good at it. And so just understanding that, I think then allows you to be like, okay, I need to get rid of maybe some of my distractions, or like have specific dedicated time to where I can hear God. Like you were saying, like we need to put out time for that, because we're not going to have that time if we don't intentionally go after it. And so, yeah, to your point, like we just are distracted.
I gotta go watch that video. That's crazy.
You should. It's like
That's
a
wild.
kind of a long spiel, but this 12-year-old, or maybe she's 14.
Oh, dang.
Yeah,
Just a little kid doing it. That's crazy.
Yeah, and she was like, I was hesitant to share my story, but like I feel like I need to tell everyone, like Jesus is trying to get through to us. Like think about that right now. Like Jesus is trying to get through to you and he can't. And so let's act. Let's do something about it and get rid of our distractions or put time aside for him. And I just thought that was really cool, because I was like, man, I'm also in that world, you know? I try.
Yeah,
but
that's something that I wish I would have known too. And something that I feel like I want kids to know so bad is God so badly wants to talk to you about it.
So bad.
And sometimes I wonder, I'm like, okay, I believe that he wants to, but why is it so hard to hear him if that's the case? And I don't even remember what kid this was. There's a kid that said this to me that I was like, that was the deepest thing I've ever heard. He said, what's easily acquired is easily forsaken. And I've thought about that a lot since, that the things you don't really work for or wrestle over, usually you forget about them and they don't mean that much. And it can be hard to figure out how to hear God and how to be led by him. But I think it's the most worthwhile wrestle that you can have. And I think it's actually the wrestle that will make it that much more beautiful when you do experience connection with him and when you do experience
So true.
hearing his voice. Isn't that a fire quote?
That's
Yeah.
so awesome. Yeah, I love that. It reminds me of this morning during my scripture study. I was reading in Helaman 12, and I can't remember the exact verse, but it's kind of funny. It's a verse that says, like, we are as low as the dust of the earth, you know?
Yeah.
Something that, like, normally wouldn't inspire me that much. Like, oh, dang, that kind of hurts.
Nice. Good to know.
But I was like, if we are to God as like the dust of the earth is to us, it's like, how amazing is it that we have a God that got to know that much dust, like that many tiny particles of dust. I got to know the names, the stories of every single one. And if we are that low to him, how much humility does it take for him to come all the way down to our level and love us as much as he does? Because I'm like, I know I'm not going to love dust. You know, I'm never going to get to that level, you know, but the fact that that's how low we are in comparison, as the scripture says, but that God still comes all the way down to that low level and loves us as deeply as he does, you know, is really amazing. And so when you know that about him, it makes it, at least for me, it makes me way more motivated to do things for him. You know, if he's willing to do that for me, if he's willing to come all the way down to my level, then the least I can do is respond to him.
And it makes me want to live that way more, because like, okay, that's an insane amount of love. And the Bible teaches us, right? God is love, right?
Yeah.
And when I think about, okay, we don't want to live distracted, so how do we want to live? Because it's hard to say what not to do, you know what I mean? And but then it's like, well, what do I do? And when I think of what to do, it's figure out how to love in the pure, big, unimaginable kind of way that he does. And I love the name of this, Heaven Project, right? When I think of heaven, when I think of divine experiences, it's moments that you do experience that kind of love. It's the moments that you love someone in the pure, real, deep way that God does. And that's so much better than the dopamine that your distractions give you. It's so much better, but it's harder to get that. And that's the hard thing. It's easier to get the quick dopamine hitters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But the joy that developing and feeling and expressing pure Christ-like love to someone gives you is so much better.
Yeah. You know Ruben Bradshaw?
Yeah.
He used to play. We had him on here, and he shared something that I thought was a really interesting outlook on it. And he was talking more about drugs, but I think it applies to social media. It applies to all these quick fix dopamine rushes that we have in the world today, all the distractions that Satan uses. And he was like, Satan has found a way to create this really synthetic high, this like synthetic spirit experience almost like he knows what God does, he knows what the spirit feels like, and he's like, I'm going to create a similar thing, but it's synthetic, and it's almost that good, but it's not quite there. But it's really easy to get caught up in all those synthetic experiences because they can be good, they can feel good for you at least. But it's once you feel the feeling of God and once you have that real experience with him and you can rule out all those other things and know that that's not the real thing, then it's like you're on fire. You want more of that over and over again. And I think that's why we wanted to do this, why we named it the Heaven Project. It's just to remind people that they've experienced the real thing before. It's to remind people that they have experienced a little taste of heaven on earth. They have experienced God in their life. And the best thing they can do is just remember that and let that fuel their fire and let that lead them to have more and more experiences like it, you know?
Okay, now I'm going to get nerdy with this because I don't know if you guys do this. I was a psychology major. I love brain stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Did you not know that? We were learning about addiction, and there's something called tolerance. Maybe you guys have heard that term. It's you use a drug a certain amount, right? But then you build up a tolerance where that same amount no longer affects you the same way. So then you have to take more, right? And I remember I was learning about it. I was like, I think that's actually a principle of progression. And I think Satan actually took something that God uses and twisted it for his uses. And what I mean by that is when you have a spiritual experience, you might have to get more committed to have more of those experiences. You might almost build up a tolerance where it's like, okay, I actually need to, be more devoted, and I need to look to him more, and I need to make that more part of my life to have more experiences. And it's the same thing that happens with drugs, right? Where it's like, oh, I need more and more and more. The difference is one of those trails will lead you down such a bad hole, right? And your phone, right? If that's what you're looking at, it will feel good, and then you'll need more, and then you'll need more, and then you'll need more, and that will lead you down such a bad hole. But the thing is with God, once you have one experience, you might build up a tolerance, right? And then you do a little bit more. If you chase that path, though, that is going to lead you to the most beautiful place possible. Like that's going to lead you to the most joyful life. And I think sometimes God works with that we'll feel something at first, and then you don't feel something for a second. And I think we see that like we're doing something wrong or there's a problem. But the more that I've thought about it, I think it's God actually just inviting us to take things to another level. And I think it's just him helping us lead things along. Does that make sense outside of my head?
No.
No, she's like, no, not at all.
Yeah,
I don't get into that a lot, but it's something I've thought about a lot.
No, that's so
good.
interesting. I love that. I want to ask you I don't know if you have any specific moments that you felt like a little heaven on earth or advice that you would give to people. I think we're in a world right now, obviously things that have happened this past weekend with the church in Michigan and with Charlie Kirk being shot here close to where we're at right now. Like there's a lot of violence and evil in the world. And it might feel really impossible for people to experience God or experience heaven on earth. What maybe experiences have you had that have helped you feel peace in your life when you're in a dark place? And B, what advice would you give to people to feel that feeling in such a dark world?
Man, this is actually kind of bringing together a lot of things we've talked about today. But I think the tricky thing is when you start getting fearful, right? You hear all these things and you get fearful and you start stressing out. Normally what those emotions do is they turn you inward and they turn you self-focused. And I think that's one of the worst things you can do because you're going to spiral and get more fearful and more stressed and more nervous. And I think it's why Christ invited us. Look outside yourself. No matter how crazy things are, look outside yourself because it's actually one of the most healing things you can do. And there's a quote by President Monson. This is paraphrasing, but at the beginning, this is word for word. He says, "The sweetest experience I know in life," this is where I paraphrase, "is to feel a prompting, act upon it, and later find out that it was the answer to someone's prayer." And when I think of heaven on earth experiences, I think these times that I was stressed out, right? But then I was given a prompting. I followed it. It's what we talked about earlier, right? And then I saw that it was what God needed. I think of one that actually, it happened on this same road right here where we're recording. I was driving home. I said, God, I want to help someone feel your love. And it was getting dark outside, and there's this girl walking on the side of the road. And I remember I had that invitation that we talked about earlier, that prompting, that thought, you need to pick that girl up. And immediately my second thought was, that's creepy. That's like, it's getting dark. Like, she's going to think I'm weird.
I would say no.
Yeah. But then I had the thought of like, you asked me for this. And so I did a U-turn, rolled down my window, and I was so nervous. I was like, you want to ride? And she's like, yeah, I'd love one. I was like, what the heck? So she came and got in my car. And she just moved from China like the year before. And she's like, yeah, I just got baptized. And I'm like, well, what are you doing now? She's like, oh, I'm walking back from the temple. I'm like, why are you doing that? I'm just asking all the questions. And she's like, well, honestly, I haven't felt God in a really long time. And I just wanted to ask him if he still loves me, if he even still cares. And I remembered the prayer that I'd said on my drive of like, God, send me to someone that needs to feel your love. And I knew, I'm like, oh, he wants you to know he loves you. Like he sent me today to let you know that he loves you. It's exactly what I asked. That's why I picked you up. Not for the ride, but to deliver this message. And we had such a sweet chat after that, like a very emotional chat. And I remember driving home, and I had all these things going on in my life, but they didn't matter because I knew that God had seen her, but he'd also seen me. And he'd also heard my prayer, and he'd use me to do something good. And it's what you said earlier. It's the sweetest thing when he uses you to do something good. And I just think when there's all these things going around that honestly are outside of our control. You know, we hear about these big things that are outside of our control. What is in your control is being God's hands in your sphere right now. And so if you will say, God, I want to be used, and then you follow those invitations, you follow those first thoughts, he's going to use you to help somebody. And all of a sudden your fear is going to be replaced with love. That's what the scriptures teach, right? Perfect love casteth out all fear. When you're looking outward, when you're filled with love, you're looking out for others, there's not space for that fear and that anxiety. It's replaced with something better. And I really think that's the way you experience heaven, is living a life focused on others, loving them deeply, being led by God, being used by God. That's when you're going to have heaven experiences.
Well, and that's the goal too, is having people feel the fire of what heaven feels like, and then it makes them want to create that through their relationship with God or through relationships with other people or themselves. Like, it really is a fire worth fueling because it's going to grow into this massive thing that then touches so many other people and creates just like a beautiful little space of heaven.
Well, and it's like, and that's what's in our control. We can't we can't control. So there's so many things we can't control, but we can control our interactions. And now I'm thinking, and I actually think this is such an important part of creating heaven. I'm thinking of your screen story and the distraction stuff. I think the most heavenly experience I've had have come with complete presence. And what I mean is when you're completely present in a moment, whether that's with a person or with God. I remember this worship concert that I went to that just lit me on fire. Like, it absolutely lit me on fire. And I look back and I'm like, I was so present. I was so focused on God. It's the only thing that I was thinking about that. And because of that connection was real. It was divine. And I think of this trip I went on with my wife that I'm like, I'm just leaving my phone, and I was so present with her. I was so connected to her. And I think it's in those present connected moments that, one, God's able to use you more, but two, it's when you experience what God sent us here to experience. For me, I think that's true connection, both vertical and horizontal.
Yeah.
I love that. Any other thoughts on anything? People need your wisdom.
Here's a million messages to the world.
This actually has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but can I share it because it keeps coming to my mind?
Yeah.
Yes.
We talked about the beginning at conversion, and I think this is something important to understand about God. We talked about this, came home, worked at the MTC, doing good things with my life. I started teaching seminaries, my first semester teaching seminary, and it was also my last semester of psychology, and I was in this brain class, and all of a sudden I feel like my spirituality went completely dark. And I don't know how to explain it. And what was weird is I was spending more time in the scriptures than I'd ever had before, but I could not feel God at all. And all of a sudden, with that happening and with my psychology class, I was like, have I just made up God in my head? Did I make it all up? And I had these 6 months, and this is after I've had all these spiritual experiences, right? I had these 6 months that I had no idea if he was real anymore. And it was actually a really weird spot to be in because I was teaching seminary, and the way I taught was so different because I couldn't say things I knew anymore. And all of a sudden it was, well, the scriptures say this, and so this is what they say. You know what I mean? It like completely changed that. And I still remember I was at this testimony meeting, not in church, it was in this other gathering towards the end of that. And I remember everybody was getting up and bearing their testimony saying, I know God's real. I know Jesus is real. I know this, I know that. And I was so bugged because I was like, I can't say I know any of those things anymore. And I was thinking about it, and I just had this thought, well, what do you believe? And I remember I stood up and I just said 2 things. I said, I believe that God guides me, because I really did believe that. And I had experiences that made me believe that. And I said, I believe that Christ changes people, because I had experiences that really made me believe that. And I remember I had so many people come up to me after and say, thank you for that testimony. Like I didn't realize how many things I'd said without really knowing them. And I think the reason that I want to say that now is we talk about, these spiritual experiences. We talk about these experiences with God, and it's a battle to have those. You know what I mean? Like it's not always super linear of, yeah, I'm always feeling the Spirit. I'm always having, like, there have been so many times for me that I feel it and it's amazing. And there's been some times that I don't feel it at all. And I actually think, when we think of the Heaven Project, I love that project part, because it's a process. And in creating heaven in your life and creating a meaningful relationship with God, it's not a one-time thing. It's not a, I had this one experience, or it's not done. It's always being figured out, and it's always growing. And I've just seen the more that I'm okay with that process, and the more I'm sincere in what I believe, I think the more God is willing to give me new experiences and lead me along more.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
This
That was
just
awesome.
spikes more questions for me.
I know that was so random for what we were talking
No,
about.
I love
but
that.
just-
No, that
I'd
was
actually been
perfect.
thinking, I'm like, I should ask him a question on, like, how he feels the Spirit, how he finds answers. Because I feel like there's a lot of people that are listening right now. They're like, I don't know what that looks like. Like, I don't know what receiving an answer to prayer looks like, or what talking to God really looks like, or how I'm supposed to receive personal revelation. Because those are things that even we're still figuring out. Because I feel like it's not just like a one and done thing. Like, oh, when I was younger, God spoke to me through people, but now I feel like I've actually learned how to speak to him directly. It's always shifting. I feel like that it's not always like an answer that is just one and done. And maybe there's some people that are like, yeah, I need some help figuring out how to feel God, And I feel like too, like coming home from your mission, you just experienced the most spiritual, sacred thing and experience you've ever had. But then you still felt kind of like the darkness or the rut that you were in. And I feel like a lot of return missionaries even feel that, where they're like, I was just on fire with the Spirit, and now I'm home and I feel so egocentric, and I don't know where my purpose is. Like, where is that divine purpose God is talking about? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? I don't feel him, even though I'm doing all the right things. And so, I don't know, I feel like that was divinely inspired for you to mention that, because maybe there's something else you could say that could answer one of my million questions that I just threw out there.
No, but honestly, like, it was hard for me when I got home from my mission. Like,
It's
you come
so
home and
relatable.
you're in a place where you just felt like the best person ever. You were on fire. You were doing what you were supposed to be doing every day. Like, your purpose was just so clear and obvious. And so I think, and I don't know if people are listening to this that can relate to this, but it is hard when you get home from your mission. And it's almost like you said earlier, you build up a really, really high spiritual tolerance because it's all you're doing every single day. So, like, what you have to be doing to feel the Spirit almost feels like more than it was at the start of your mission, if that makes sense. But all of a sudden you're home And obviously you're not doing as much as you were doing on your mission to feel the Spirit. And so sometimes people fall into a rut and it takes a little bit, but don't let that rut stop you from reaching out to God.
Yeah, I just think
I
think the biggest thing is they're an important step. The ruts, the darkness, the confusion, the lack of purpose, they're an important step. And I think the most important thing is that you push through them and don't stop in them. And I think that happens so much that I'm not feeling it, or I'm confused. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the results, right? That when we get to that point, we stop there. And I wonder how many times God is like, whoa, wait. You know, as a brother of Jared was on the water for 344 days, and then he got to the promised land. What if he would have stopped on day 340? You know, and God's like, wait. 4 more days, and I promise you. It says he got there, and he did shed tears of joy when he got to the promised land. And I think that's something, I guess that's what I want to say with this is I believe that there's moments that will make you shed tears of joy ahead. There's heaven moments ahead, but you can't stop too soon. And the thing for me is in that moment, I'd had enough experiences that I would say, no, I know I felt something in those moments. I'd written enough times, right? That I was like, no, I know I'd seen something. Don't stop when you're in the ruts, when you're in the holes, because the tear shedding moments, they're real and they will come when you keep pushing through those.
Yeah. Love that.
And it's hard sometimes, you know?
It is hard. And, hold on, I don't know if Conley needs to come in here.
He's locked out.
Put a little pause.
I'm just going to check on it.
Yeah, check on it. We're just about done, so.
Yeah, keep going. I just want to make sure they're all still.
Okay. Yeah, I've been like monitoring them as we go on the red lights.
The red lights.
I know, it's been sagging. I've been like.
Just start. Hey!
The whole time I'm getting lower and lower.
Is that funny?
And resume. But last thing that I want to share, I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts, but just the other night, I feel like I had one of these moments where, like, I don't know if I would call it a rut, but I don't know, me and Riley, this whole summer, we had a very meaningful summer. We were out helping people. We were living in the islands, really growing.
You were living my dream summer. I'm still jealous about it.
Yeah, literally the dream. We were living in the islands and doing meaningful work, really developing our relationship further. And then it was like, come home, and kind of similar to mission, you don't have as much purpose. And I've like just been thinking so much about myself and what do I want to do with my career and all these different decisions. And I just realized like how much I've been thinking about myself, and I just wasn't in a great place. And I was doing some work for just some construction work that I'm doing on the side, and it was really frustrating. And the like,
I can attest to that.
I love how she just starts laughing. She knows.
I was so frustrated because I was sealing a driveway, and you have to use this like sprayer, and it like wasn't working. I went and bought a new one. The new one also wasn't working. It was like dribbling out instead of misting. Anyways, I was frustrated to say the least. And Riley was gone somewhere. Why can't I remember where you were? Anyways, she was gone, and I went home, and I was like, I just need to have a chat with God. And the whole drive home, I was like, I just not feeling it. Just don't want to have that conversation right now. I'm just frustrated, and I just like wanted to like feel frustrated. And I think it was a culmination of a lot of emotions over the last few weeks. And then I got home, and I went on a little run, and I was on a little trail run and overlooking the valley. I finally stopped, and I was like, okay, I'm going to just say my prayer here. And I just knelt down and had one of the most heartfelt prayers that I've had in a long time. And it was just like that moment of joy that Brother Jared had. It was just like a beautiful moment where God was like, hey, I love you, dude. Like, you're doing great. Like, you're fine. And I feel like the one piece of advice God gave me, he's like, how about you just stop thinking about yourself for a little bit? Like, you're trying too hard to think about yourself. Let's just think about others, and I'll figure it out for you. Don't worry about it. Anyways, it was just a cool moment. And just talking about this reminded me of that. Like, oh, I had a little mini one of those moments just like 3 days ago. So, anyways, all those moments are around the corner. You really do just have to push through, and you have to put in a little bit of effort. You have to say that prayer. You have to put yourself in an environment to feel God, because He is there.
Yeah, push through and bring people in it too. You know, you can be honest with people about it. If I'm struggling to feel this, I'm struggling to do this. Bring people into that and let them help you in that. You know.
Yeah,
But I love
sure.
that because those experiences, they're real and they're there, and I think God is just hoping that we keep pushing enough to get to those.
Yeah. Amen.
So what's your little challenge for the people this week, Tal?
My challenge for the people this week, I could give them a challenge.
Based off what you said.
Oh man. Okay, here's my challenge for the people. My challenge is do one thing to be in a better spot to hear God. And then any good thoughts that come, just send it. Just full send and watch what happens. And I think if you keep doing that consistently enough, you will have beautiful heaven-like experiences with God.
Amen. Go give them heaven, people.
Boom, bada bang.
Bada bang. We'll end it there. Thanks for coming on.
Good stuff. Good to be with y'all.